Act as if you are the best. No one is better than you. Thomas Shelby. There is a man who sits in a room full of people who are smarter than him, better educated than him, better connected than him, and he is the only one in that room who has already decided he is going to win, not because he has proof, not because the numbers say so, not because anyone told him he could. He decided it before he walked through the door. That decision, made in private, made in silence, made before a single result came in, is the only thing separating the people who build empires from the people who watch them get built. You want to know how that works? Keep watching. Section 1. The decision before the evidence. Most people wait for proof before they believe in themselves. They want the result first. The promotion, the revenue, the validation, the win, and then once the world confirms it, they will finally allow themselves to act like they belong. That is backwards. That is the logic of someone who will spend their entire life waiting for permission that never arrives. The decision to act as if you are the best is not arrogance. It is not delusion. It is a strategic posture that you adopt before the market, the room, the competitor, or the circumstances have a chance to tell you otherwise. You are not lying to yourself. You are choosing a default operating state, one that produces a completely different quality of action than the alternative. Here is what that looks like in concrete terms. Two people walk into the same sales call, same product, same pricing, same prospect. One of them has been thinking all morning about how the last 3 calls went badly, how the prospect might say no, how he probably is not good enough to close this. The other one walked in having already decided the deal is done. His only job now is to deliver clarity. Those two people are not having the same conversation. They are not even in the same reality. The first one is surviving. The second one is operating. This is not a mindset trick. This is a performance architecture. The belief precedes the behavior, and the behavior produces the result. You cannot reverse engineer that sequence. You cannot perform at the level of someone who believes they are the best, while simultaneously believing you are not. The gap between those two belief states is visible. It shows up in the cadence of your voice, the directness of your eye contact, the precision of your decisions, the speed at which you act when things go wrong. Everything downstream of the belief is affected by the belief. There is a man many people point to when they want to illustrate what this kind of inner certainty looks like in practice. Thomas Shelby, the character, the archetype, operates from a place where the outcome has already been decided in his mind before the first move is made. He does not walk into a room asking to be respected. He walks in having already granted that to himself privately before the door opened. The room adjusts to him, not because he is physically imposing, not because he is the loudest voice, but because his internal state, the certainty he carries, radiates into every decision he makes and every word he chooses not to say. That is not fiction. That is psychology. That is what pre-committed internal certainty looks like in a human body. You are not born with that. You build it, and the first step in building it is to stop waiting for the world to hand you the permission slip. Section 2. What acting as if actually means. Let us be precise about what this phrase means, because most people misunderstand it completely. Acting as if you are the best does not mean pretending. It does not mean pumping yourself up in the mirror every morning with affirmations you do not believe. It does not mean telling people you are great when you have not done the work to back it up. That version of it is hollow, and the world sees through it within seconds. What it actually means is this: you make every practical decision about your time, your energy, your standards, your responses to failure, your approach to opportunity, from the reference point of someone who is operating at the highest level, not who you are today, not who the evidence suggests you are. Who you are choosing to be as a functional operating standard, starting now. That means you do not skip the preparation because you think you can wing it. The best do not wing it. They are the most prepared people in the room, and they know it, and that knowledge is part of what makes them calm when everyone else is anxious. You prepare like the best. You show up early like the best. You hold your standards when it would be easier to let them slip, the way the best do. It means you stop asking for opinions from people who have not built what you are trying to build. The best are selective about whose input they allow to land. not because they are arrogant, but because they understand that ambient noise from people operating at a lower level will pull your internal reference point down to match theirs. You guard the signal. You are ruthless about who gets access to your thinking, your time, and your doubt. It means you respond to failure differently, not by spiraling, not by catastrophizing, not by treating one bad quarter or one bad month or one bad conversation as evidence that you were right to doubt yourself all along. The best treat failure as information. They extract what is useful, discard what is noise, and move. The turnaround time between a setback and the next move, that gap shrinks the higher you operate, because certainty does not require that everything goes right. It requires that you have already decided what you are doing with whatever happens, and it means you take up space, not aggressively, not at other people's expense, but you stop shrinking. You stop qualifying your opinions before you give them. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You stop performing humility as a social strategy when what you actually need is to be clear and direct and fully present in the room. There is a version of humility that is a virtue, and there is a version of humility that is a hiding strategy. Most people who call themselves humble are hiding. They are managing the risk of being wrong by never fully committing to being right. That is not humility. That is risk aversion dressed up as a personality trait. The man who acts as if he is the best is not telling you he is perfect. He is telling you, through every action, every decision, every standard he holds, that he is not negotiating with himself about whether he belongs. That negotiation is over. He made his decision. Now he is just working. Section 3. The internal environment you have to build. Your internal environment determines your external output. This is not motivational language. This is a cause and effect statement about how human performance actually operates. And if you are not deliberately managing your internal environment, something else is managing it for you. And that something else is usually random, reactive, and deeply unconducive to operating at a high level. Your internal environment is made up of 3 things: the information you consume, the people you spend time with, and the narratives you allow to run in your head unchallenged. All 3 of them are inputs. All 3 of them shape your default operating state. And most people are treating all 3 of them as if they have no choice in the matter. You have every choice. Start with the information. If you are consuming content, any content that makes you feel like a passive observer of other people's success rather than an active participant in building your own, that content is costing you something real, is not neutral. Every hour you spend watching other people live at the level you say you want to reach, without extracting a specific, actionable lesson that you immediately apply, is an hour spent practicing observation instead of execution. The best are not obsessive consumers. They are obsessive appliers. The gap between the information they have and the action they take is as small as they can possibly make it. Now the people, you have heard this before, and you dismissed it because changing your social environment feels disloyal or dramatic or unnecessary. But here is the operational reality. The people you spend the most time with set your behavioral ceiling, not because they are bad people, but because human beings are calibration machines. We unconsciously adjust our standards, our effort levels, our risk tolerance, and our language to match the group we are embedded in. If your group is comfortable with mediocrity, if the conversation is mostly about problems, mostly about other people, mostly about what is not possible, your nervous system is being trained in real time to treat that frequency as normal. And normal is what you default to under pressure. Normal is what you produce when you are tired, scared, or uncertain. You need your normal to be high. That requires you to be embedded in a group whose normal is high. Then the narratives. Most people have a running internal monologue that they have never audited. It was installed in childhood, reinforced by early failures, cemented by the reactions of other people, and it has been running on autopilot ever since. That monologue for most people is not an ally. It is a critic. It is the voice that tells you that you are not ready, that you are out of your depth, that someone better than you is going to take what you are reaching for. And the problem is not that this voice exists. Every high performer has it. The problem is that most people treat it as accurate information rather than as a cognitive habit to be retrained. Retraining it is not a matter of positive thinking. You build the internal case for your own competence by doing hard things repeatedly recording the results, and referring back to that record when the voice gets loud. You create a body of evidence, of attempts, of completions, of problems solved, of things that went wrong that you survived, that gives you something concrete to point to when the narrative tries to revert. This is not about feeling confident. Confidence is a byproduct. The process is evidence-based self-correction, conducted consistently over time, Thomas Shelby once said. And this is the cleanest version of this principle you'll find anywhere. I'm not a traitor to my class. I am just an extreme example of what a working-class man can achieve. That is not bragging. That is a man who has audited his own story, rejected the ceiling that was placed on him by circumstance, and replaced it with a ceiling of his own choosing. He built the internal environment that made the external results possible. You can do exactly the same thing. The mechanism is the same. The discipline required is the same. The results are available to you in direct proportion to how seriously you take the construction of that internal world. Section 4. How the best actually compete. There is a widespread misunderstanding about what separates top performers from everyone else, and it is costing people years of misdirected effort. The common assumption is that the best have some extraordinary innate capacity, a level of talent or intelligence or natural ability that is categorically different from what ordinary people possess. This assumption is empirically incorrect and strategically useless. What actually separates the best from everyone else is process architecture. It is the design of how they work, the specific, deliberate, repeatable systems they have built around their effort that allow them to extract more signal from the same number of hours, to improve faster from the same number of failures, and to sustain higher output across a longer time horizon than people who are working just as hard but without the same intentional design. Let us be specific. The best have a feedback loop that is significantly tighter than average. They are not waiting for annual reviews or external evaluations to find out how they are doing. They have built daily and weekly mechanisms for assessing their own performance against a defined standard, identifying the specific variables that are driving the gap and adjusting. This is not complicated. It is a habit, but it is a habit that most people have never built because no one told them that they were responsible for designing their own feedback system. The best also have a different relationship to discomfort, not a higher pain tolerance. That is not quite it. They have a more accurate read on what discomfort actually means. For the average performer, discomfort is a signal to stop, to protect, to pull back. For the best, discomfort is a signal that they are operating at the edge of their current capability, which means they are in the zone where the actual development is happening. They have trained themselves to move toward that signal rather than away from it. That reinterpretation of discomfort from threat to opportunity is one of the most high-leverage cognitive shifts available to you, and it costs nothing to make. The best also compete differently than people think. They are not primarily competing with other people. They are primarily competing with their own previous standard. The external competition is real, and they take it seriously. They study it, they map it, they understand exactly where they are relative to it, but their primary frame of reference is their own trajectory. Are they better than they were last month? Is their process tighter? Is the output higher quality? Is the decision-making faster and more accurate? That internal standard is what they are actually chasing. External competitors set the floor. They tell you the minimum you need to be, but the ceiling is self-imposed and self-raised. They are also ruthless about their attention in a way that most people are not. The human attention system is a finite resource, and the best understand that where your attention goes is where your performance goes. They protect their peak hours, the hours when their cognitive function is sharpest, from everything that does not directly advance their primary objective. They batch the low-value tasks into their off-peak hours. They build the environment around them, physically and digitally, to minimize the friction between intention and action. They are not disciplined in some superhuman sense. They have designed their environment so that the right action is easier than the wrong one. Discipline is a system design problem, not a willpower problem, and they make decisions faster, not carelessly, fast but with rigor. They have pre-decided most of the decisions that derail average performers. Their values are clear enough that they do not have to deliberate on questions of integrity or direction when they come up under pressure. Their priorities are clear enough that they do not agonize over what to do with their time. They have done the cognitive work in advance so that the execution can be clean. Speed of decision under pressure is a competitive advantage, and it is available to anyone willing to do the upfront work of knowing exactly what they stand for and what they are building. Section 5. The Action Protocol. Here is where this becomes operational. Everything above is context. This is the actual protocol. The specific actions that translate the posture of acting as if you are the best into measurable output that compounds over time. First, define your standard before you start the day, not at the end. Most people do a retrospective at the end of the day. They look back at what happened and assess it loosely. The best define every morning the specific standard they are holding themselves to for the next 16 hours, not goals. Standard, the quality level below which they are not willing to drop. When the standard is defined in advance, every micro decision throughout the day has a reference point. When it is not defined, every micro decision is made in a vacuum, and the default is always the path of least resistance. Second, identify the one constraint that is limiting your output and eliminate it before you do anything else. Every system, professional, creative, physical, has one primary constraint at any given moment. One thing that, if removed, would allow everything else to move faster. Most people work on the periphery. They optimize the things that are easy to optimize. They clean up the edges. The best go straight to the constraint. They do not optimize their email workflow when the constraint is their ability to close. They do not refine their content calendar when the constraint is their product. Find the constraint, work on that. Everything else is displacement activity. Third, track 3 numbers every day. 3 numbers that directly measure the output of your primary activity. If you are in sales, it is calls made, conversations had, deals advanced. If you are building an audience, it is pieces of content produced, distribution actions taken, engagement signals analyzed. If you are in physical training, it is sessions completed, progressive overload achieved, recovery quality logged. 3 numbers, every day, non-negotiable. The act of tracking creates accountability to a standard that does not have feelings, does not have bad days, and does not accept excuses. You cannot negotiate with a number. It either went up or it did not. Fourth, do the thing you have been avoiding first. Not second, not later, today. First, the thing that you have been postponing, the call you have been dreading, the document you have been procrastinating on, the conversation you have been constructing elaborate rationales to avoid. That thing is the exact thing your performance ceiling is tied to. Your nervous system knows it. That is why it generates avoidance behavior. The avoidance is not protecting you from the task. It is protecting you from the discomfort of operating at your actual edge. That is the edge where the growth is. Go there first, every day. Fifth, review the week with a cold eye, not a forgiving eye, not a punishing eye. A cold, accurate eye. What was the output? Was it consistent with the standard you set? If not, what specifically caused the deviation? And was that cause internal or external? Internal causes are correctable. External causes are adaptable. The review is not about making yourself feel good or bad. It is about increasing the accuracy of your self-model, which is the single most valuable asset you can develop as a performer. The more accurately you understand how you actually operate, not how you imagine you operate, but how you actually do, the more precisely you can intervene to improve. This is not glamorous. Thomas Shelby was not glamorous in his process. He was relentless, methodical, and unsentimental about what the situation required. He did not wait until he felt ready. He did not consult his comfort. He decided what needed to happen. He built the plan, and he executed it. And when it fell apart, he built another plan, faster, from whatever remained. That is the protocol in practice. Not inspiration, not motivation, just the repeating cycle of standard action, measurement, adjustment, and forward motion. Relentless, compounding, unstoppable. Section 6. What you are actually up against. You need to be honest with yourself about what you are actually fighting. Not the market, not the competition, not the economy, or the timing, or the circumstances that were handed to you. You are fighting a version of yourself that has decided that acting small is safer than acting at your full capacity, And that version of yourself has been building its case for a long time. Every time you have backed down from a standard because no one was watching, that version got stronger. Every time you have chosen comfort over the action that your ambition required, that version got more confident. Every time you have looked at someone operating at a higher level and told yourself a story about why they have access to things you do not, luck, connections, resources, timing, that version added another argument to its brief. That is the opponent. It is not external, it is internal, and it cannot be defeated with motivation, because motivation is temporary. It can only be defeated with structure, with systems and commitments and standards that do not require you to feel like acting on them in order to act on them. You build the rails and then you run on them regardless of the weather. The people who operate at the highest level are not people who never feel the pull toward comfort, towards safety, toward backing down. They are people who have built mechanisms strong enough to override that pull consistently. Their systems are stronger than their moods, their commitments are stronger than their excuses, and they have been building those systems quietly while other people were still waiting to feel ready. You will not feel ready. That feeling is not coming. The readiness is created by action, not preceded by it, and the action is taken from the posture of someone who has already decided, before the evidence, before the results, before anyone else's confirmation, that they are operating at the highest level available to them right now, with what they have from where they are, not someday. Now, there is a man who walked into every room having already decided the outcome. He did not need the room's permission. He did not need the circumstances to be favorable. He needed one thing, the internal decision, made privately and completely, that he was the one. You have the same capacity for that decision right now, before the result, before the proof, before anyone else confirms it. The decision is yours to make, and yours alone. Make it, hold it, build everything on top of it. That is how it works. That is how it has always worked. Now go.